Hey guys, welcome to Yogalates with SJ. Today we have a 30-minute full body workout at home. You don't need any equipment for today's workout. We're starting in a kneeling position, coming to about hip distance apart with the knees. You're bringing the arms up and you're starting to circle the arms all the way around. As you breathe in, reaching the arms up. As you breathe out, floating the arms back down. Seeing if you can imagine that all of the movement here is coming from the shoulders. So it's almost as though you're bringing the shoulders up toward the ears and bringing the shoulders down and away from the ears. Letting the arms come along for the ride with this, making sure you're not locking out into the elbow joints. Finding a little bit more openness through the heart center each time as you open the arms out. Inhale, coming up with the arms. Exhale, floating those arms. Keeping your core engaged, a neutral pelvis. So you're not tucking the tailbone under and you're not popping the tailbone back. Finding a nice, strong core. Starting to come back the other way with the arms. So you're starting to bring the arms all the way up and forward and down. Keeping your breathing going, connecting the breath to the movement. So inhale, coming up with the arms. Exhale, releasing down. Again, really working through those shoulders here. Keeping softness into the elbows. Keeping your head in a neutral position. Slight space between the chin and the chest here. Awesome. And then coming back through center when you're ready. Now you're bringing the arms out into a T shape. Starting to twist towards the right side, coming back through center and then twisting left. Coming back through center. Keeping this going as you do so, seeing if you can keep the lower body nice and still, keeping the hips square to the side edge of the mat. And all the movement is coming from the waist here, keeping the shoulders down and away from the ears, allowing the head to be in that same line as the rest of the back, and coming back through center, starting to make little circles. So it's just tiny little circles here, moving from the shoulders. So imagining you are using your shoulders to make this little circle. Now going back the other way. Reversing, breathing in and breathing out. Feeling that strength in the arms and then coming back through center. Flipping the palms to the sky and starting to do a little bicep in and open it out. So we are doing a little bicep curl here. Keeping an open palm, squeezing the muscles and controlling the release of that as you open the arms back out. Beautiful. Starting to bring the arms down by your sides, and as you inhale, bringing the arms forward, and then as you exhale, bringing the arms all the way around and lowering the arms back down by your side. Keeping this going, breathing in as you bring the arms forward. Exhale as you start to bring the arms all the way around, opening up through that heart center, keeping that lift up out of the pelvic floor and really engaging into your core here. Nice neutral pelvis. Finding a connection to all of those muscles we're working here. We're getting a full body workout. Beautiful work. Let's stay here, starting to round the spine, bringing the arms all the way forward, and then you're opening the heart as you start to bring the arms all the way down by your sides, palms facing forward, starting to round the spine and then roll all the way up and release the arms down. Cool, let's just stay here. We're going to start to work into the back of the arms. So pressing the palms to the back of the room, starting to make little pulses, tiny little pulses in and out, and keeping this going. Really working into those tricep muscles. Awesome job. And then you're starting to cross the hands behind you. So it's tiny little crosses of the hands as you start to work into the back of those arms, keeping the shoulders down, keeping your core engaged. Beautiful work. And then we're starting to bring the palms to face forward. You're going to continue with this little movement in and out. Keeping it going. Make sure you're breathing. Really connecting to those arm muscles. So good, you guys. Rolling the shoulders up, releasing the shoulders down. We're twisting to the right side and then coming back through center and then twisting left. And coming back through center, twisting right. And back through center and twisting left. Back through center. Starting to step the left foot forward. And you have got the foot about hip distance apart. Hips are square. You're bringing the right fingertips down to the mat as you sweep the left arm up and over and gazing under that left arm. Then you're lifting back up to your neutral. So as you start to come back up, using your core to bring you up. So engaging into the core, you are allowing a little bit of a connection into that left bicep as well as you come up. Bringing your mind to the muscles through that arm, keeping openness across the heart, keeping length through the side waist, and we're staying here. We're starting to bring the toes to point to the outside edge of the mat, opening up through both hips, and we're starting to sweep the right arm up as you bring the left forearm to the top of the left leg. And then we are coming back up again, keeping that neutral pelvis and keeping your core engaged. Belly button to spine, finding a lift up towards the ceiling, and you are coming all the way over. Almost imagining you are coming up over a ball rather than crunching over. So we want to be lifting up, up, up and over, and then using your core to bring you all the way back up. With control and finding that open heart, open shoulder through that right side. Awesome. And coming back through center. Let's switch it over, coming to the other side. So bringing the right foot forward and the left fingertips come down as the right arm comes up and over, reaching and then drawing back up to come to your neutral. Seeing if you can keep length through both sides of the body the whole time. You are keeping the belly button to spine and using that core to lift you all the way back up. So this looks really, really simple, but it's actually quite challenging, and it's also really good for the balance too. So starting to bring the right toes to point outward and the hips are square. We're starting to bring the left arm up and over as the right forearm comes down onto the top of the leg. Finding openness through that left shoulder and through that left side of the heart center and reaching. So inhale, coming up, and exhale, coming over. And then you're opening back out again, dropping the elbow in towards the side waist. Seeing if you can really use your core and also your glutes and outer thigh to draw you back up. And we are really connecting into all the muscles of the body, not locking out into that elbow joint. Beautiful work. Coming all the way back through center, you're starting to step the left foot out, toes pointing outward, bringing the arms out into a T shape, shoulders down, and you're starting to bend into the left knee as you start to press toward that knee. Then you're lifting back up to your neutral and pressing the palms out. So imagining that you are using the resistance of the air to press out. So it's almost as though you have weight here and you are pressing that weight outward and using your core as well to bring you all the way back up into that center line. Keeping nice openness through the front side of the hips. We're keeping really square to the side of the mat. You are not making the knee go forward of the toes, so it's really important that we look after those knees. So we are trying to keep the knee in a bit of a line with the ankle here. Let's stay down here in a tiny little halfway point and starting to pulse in and out. Tiny little pulses. Hands can come into prayer. and keeping your shoulders down, breathing deeply in through the nose, exhale out, and again, inhale in, exhale out. Beautiful. Pressing into that foot to come back up. Starting to bring the right foot out, hips are square, and we have got the bend into that right knee as you start to press towards that right side, and then you are opening the arms out, palms facing outward, fingertips facing upward, and coming down and pressing back out. So good, you guys. Seeing if you can really bring your mind to those muscles that we're working through, the arms, the core, everything's getting a bit of a workout here. We are needing to really use those supporting muscles as well to find some balance and find support in these positions. Strengthening and toning. Awesome. You can really flow with this too. So good. Let's stay down and coming to that halfway point. Tiny little pulses in and out. Keeping your breath going, making sure you're breathing. Just tiny little pulses. Few more. Breathing in and breathing out, and then pressing into the foot and coming back through center. Now staying in this kneeling position, we're bringing the left foot out. The toes are pointing to the outside edge of the mat, and you're bringing the left arm up and over, and then you are floating from side to side. So we are finding a little bit more length each time, keeping the elbow joints nice and soft and relaxed here. We're finding length through the side waist, opening the heart towards the ceiling, allowing the head to be floating in the same way that the rest of the back is, so it's in that same line. Keeping the hips square to the outer edge of the mat and seeing if you can really use your core muscles to support this. Belly button to spine the whole time. Awesome. And then just bringing the right hand down, and you're starting to lift the left leg up, flexing into that left foot, and you're making tiny little pulses. So it's really small pulses up and down here, and really working into the outer thigh, the outside of that hip, and then pressing all the way back up and lengthening over towards that left side, and then coming back through center. Let's switch it over. So starting to bring the left fingertips down and bring the right arm up, and then you're bringing your right leg out to the side, facing the toes forward to the front side of the mat. You're flowing from side to side, reaching up and over, imagining that you are coming up and over a ball, so you aren't crunching through the side waist. You're finding more and more length and finding a beautiful openness through the hips as well, keeping that neutral pelvis. Core is engaged, not locking out into the knee joint, so just keeping a micro bend into that right knee. At the same time finding length from the hip all the way out the toes. Awesome, you guys. Next time you come over, we're going to start to lift that right leg all the way up, and we are bringing the left fingertips down. You're reaching your right arm up, and we're finding those little pulses. So flexing into the foot and making tiny little pulses up and down, and breathing in, breathing out, keeping that openness through the front side of the hips, and then you're pressing all the way up and floating over, and then reaching the arm up and over and up and over, finding that beautiful length here. Amazing. Now we're just starting to bring the left foot out, toes pointing to the outer edge of the mat. You're bringing your right hand down, and you are bringing your left arm up, And you're starting to sweep the leg forward and then bringing the leg back to be in line. So you want to have the toe in line with the hip as you bring it down, and then you're starting to come up and over as you start to bring the big toe to touch down in front. So keeping this going, you might bring your hand to the hip to make sure that everything's nice and still here, and you've got both hips nice and square to the side of the mat. We are really working into the hip here on the left side, as well as that left outer glute. And now we're just staying here, and you're flexing through the foot, and you're making a tiny little pulses up and down. Keeping this going, really moving from that hip here, little pulses, and then you are pointing the toe and starting to circle forward, tiny little circles forward, and then reversing, going backwards with those circles, just little circles. Awesome. Then bending into the knee and bringing the knee back down. Let's go to the other side. We're bringing the left fingertips or left palm to come down onto the mat. You're keeping the hips square to the side edge of the mat. You're reaching that right arm up, and you are starting to lift the right foot up. Finding a little touchdown of the toe forward, and then bringing the leg up and bringing it to come in line. So we want to have a nice long line from that hip to toe as you start to touch the toe down onto the mat. Awesome, you guys. We're going to stay here. You're flexing the toes back towards the face. You're making those little pulses up and down, tiny little pulses, trying to keep the leg as lifted as you can. And then we're pointing the toe, making those little circles forward, working into that hip, and then little circles back, trying to keep everything else still, keeping your core engaged and bending into the knee and coming back through center. Great job. And we are coming down to sit back onto the heels and coming down to take a seat. Beautiful, you guys. Just taking a moment here. Starting to bring the hands down next to the hips, and then we're starting to find a core engagement, lengthening up into the spine, reaching the arms forward and starting to roll all the way down. And then reaching the arms up overhead, and then starting to bring the feet in a little bit closer toward the pelvis. You can reach the fingertips towards the back of the heels. And we want to have the feet about hip distance apart as you start to peel up, lifting the hips, coming to a bridge and reaching the arms up overhead. And then as you lower the pelvis back down, you're starting to float the arms down by your sides. Inhale as you float the arms up, lifting. Pelvis lifts up towards the ceiling. And then as you exhale, starting to float the arms down as you roll the spine down, vertebra by vertebra, coming all the way back down from the top of the spine all the way down to the base of the spine. Pelvis arrives last. Seeing if you can keep your weight even through both feet. Seeing if you can allow a connection to the inner thighs as well as you press up, lifting the hips and lowering down. So good, you guys. Just taking a big hug of those knees next time you come down. Maybe a little rock from side to side. Anything that feels good here. And then you're allowing the legs to lengthen up towards the ceiling, keeping the low back connected to the mat. If it feels better, you can have the knees bent, coming to more of a tabletop position. And we're going to start to really connect into the core. So allowing the belly button to come to spine and keeping the shoulders away from the ears, you're starting to rock over to the right side and then over to the left. So we are keeping that belly button to spine connection, keeping the lower back connected the whole time. We are allowing just the legs to move over in one direction and then kind of like a needle as it comes over to the other side. And again, if you want to bend the knees, feel free to here and continue with this, making sure that you only come over as far as you can keep that connection. So you aren't bringing any tension into the lower back, and you are really using your core to drive this movement as well as stabilize to keep you nice and still here. Keeping the back of the shoulders connected down, and we're coming back through center. Beautiful work, and you can either bend through those knees or you can have the legs lengthened up. Cool, bringing the arms out a little bit wider, and we're starting to do some leg lowers. So just lowering the legs down, exhale as you power back up. Inhale as you lower down, exhale, powering it back up, using your core to draw the legs back up. Again, please do bend your knees if you want to. Otherwise, you might bring your heels together, toes slightly turned out in a little Pilates V. Keeping the whole connection of the pelvis in that neutral, keeping your lift up out of the pelvic floor. And you are keeping the legs glued together. Beautiful work. And then we're starting to press the heels up towards the ceiling, flexing the toes back towards the face. You're opening the legs out, then you're pointing the toes as you draw back together with the legs like a little magnet. So you're flexing out and then pointing and drawing back in together and flexing out. Beautiful work, you guys. Keep this going. We're working into the inner thighs, the outer thighs. Now let's reverse it. So we're pointing the toes towards the ceiling and opening out, and then you are flexing the toes back towards the face as you draw back in. Keeping this going. Beautiful work. Keeping that neutral spine, neutral pelvis, keeping your belly button drawn towards the mat. Keeping breathing here. So good, you guys. Awesome. Just bending into the right knee as you lengthen the left leg up, and you're hugging that right knee in towards the right shoulder. Pointing the left toes towards the ceiling, and then we are making sure that the lower back is still connected down onto the mat. You've got that neutral pelvis. You're lowering the left leg down, and then you are bringing it back up again as you exhale. Power back up. Inhale, lower down with control. Exhale, using your core to draw the leg back up again. And only lowering the leg down to a place where you can keep that neutral pelvis and keep that connection of core. So it can be just a very small lower down and then back up again, or you may not hardly move the leg at all. You might just start to really bring your mind to those muscles of the core, keeping that neutral pelvis. Beautiful work. And let's switch it over. So starting to hug the left knee in towards the left shoulder as you lengthen the right leg up towards the ceiling. And finding that neutral pelvis and connection of the core as you start to inhale, lower down, exhale, power back up. Inhale, lowering down, exhale, powering up, connecting. Inhale, lower down, exhale, power it up. So good, you guys. Coming to nearly be at our beautiful stretch point. This is so good for the core. We're getting into all of those ab muscles, the core muscles. We are building strength. We are getting longer, leaner, all of the good things. So good. And releasing. Let's find a happy baby here. So you might grab hold of the outside of the feet or maybe the back of the knees, using your arm strength to gently pull down, allowing the knees to be about shoulder width apart, opening up through the hips, maybe a little rock from side to side, maybe bending and straightening through the legs. You might start to just let the heels come towards the pelvis, maybe grabbing hold of the front side of the knees and just finding any movement here that feels good. And then you might just start to bring the arms out wide, gluing the knees together, bringing the legs into a tabletop position, starting to allow the knees to fall over to the right side, taking a little supine twist here, allowing the gaze to go over the left shoulder as you release both of the backs of the shoulders into the mat, finding a beautiful open heart here, breathing deeply in, filling the side waist, the rib cage with air. And then as you exhale, release, allowing everything to relax down, letting any tension go. And then taking your time when you're ready to slowly come all the way up and coming over to the other side. Just taking some really deep breaths here as you start to unwind, sending your breath to melt any tension, allowing the jaw to start to relax, all of the muscles through the face, allowing the eyes to be relaxed, maybe a soft gaze, or you might find the eyes closing. Taking your time when you're ready to slowly roll all the way back through center and hugging the knees in towards the chest. You might find a little circle of those knees, little massage here into all the digestive organs, circling one way and then the other, using your hands to make these little circles here. So good, you guys. And then you might just start to find a little shoulder stand here if it's in your practice, or you might just come to a waterfall pose by just bringing the legs to be lengthened up and keeping the back on the mat. Or you might use your hands to come to the low back, bringing the elbows to be pointing directly backwards and starting to lift the legs up towards the ceiling, coming onto the back of the shoulders and releasing here. Or you might come all the way to plow pose as you start to bring the feet to come up and over behind the head, letting the knees relax to the outside of the head. Maybe the arms are releasing, the palms facing up. Just making sure you're not looking to either side when you're in these kind of shapes, because we want to really look after the neck here, so keeping that neutral head. If you are in your plow, you might come back through to a shoulder stand. And then we're all just going to come all the way back down, rolling down to lengthen those legs up towards the ceiling in a waterfall, and then starting to bend through those knees. Maybe finding a little rolling like a ball, getting a little massage into the spine, holding onto the front side of the knees as you roll back and roll up, and rolling back and rolling up. Awesome job. Bringing the soles of the feet together, knees out wide, finding a beautiful butterfly position, opening up through the hips here. You might start to release forward, letting the head come down. And then as you inhale, finding a bit more length as you gaze up, and then as you exhale, allowing a slight little further release down. Inhale, looking up. Exhale, releasing, letting the head come down. You might continue with this, or you might start to fall into some stillness. Taking as long as you like to relax here before going about the rest of your day or night. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was beautiful to have you with me, and I am really looking forward to seeing you again on the mat sometime soon. Namaste.